How we doing, people? Hope we're all doing well. What next for Joe Parker? Right, coming off the win versus Deontay Wilder, convincing win. Let's have it right. Um, what next? Now, I think it's important to look at the winning context, right? Because he beat Wilder. What does that mean? Well, two things. One, I take nothing away from Joe Parker. It was a fantastic win, and it looks like he's 31 years old. He's coming into his prime, and it really looks like that. But was he facing the same Deontay Wilder that fought, Fury any of the times, but particularly that first time, that third time? I don't think so. I think that was a shell of the Wilder that we kind of know. I think, and people saying he didn't go for it isn't fair. He did. There are times where he was trying to throw that right hand. Either Parker just took some of the hot shots really well, or he made him miss. But it still wasn't, by any stretch of the imagination, the best Wilder we've ever seen. Um, on from that, how good did Parker really look? Now, he looked really good because of who he was against, and he completely nullified Wilder. But you watch the fight back, and if you haven't, go and watch it back. He looks like certainly a top 10 heavyweight, but he didn't look like I'm ready to step back in with a Joshua. I'd go in with Fury if we weren't buddies, or I'd take on a Usyk. He didn't look like that, in my opinion. He didn't look like that fighter. Maybe the Joyce rematch, but I'd stay away from that because you're walking back up the ranks. I'm sure he wants to get an avenge on the record, but I'd let Joyce win a fight first. Because if you go in and fight Joyce now, you're fighting Joyce off the back of two successive, quick losses where he looked thoroughly outbeaten. The first one was you're kind of thinking he's going to lose this, and I mean, especially towards the end of the fight before it stopped because of his eye, didn't it? You're thinking, okay, Joyce is starting to get back into this now, and he's got enough of the fight left that he could maybe claw it back. Because Joyce always looks really good towards that sort of end stretch. Zhang just kind of bust his eye really bad. So you think in the next fight, maybe he can right that wrong. And he just looked so much worse. The drop was crazy. So you go in and fight Joyce now, off the back of the Wilder win. If you lose, doesn't look great. If you lose, it doesn't look great. And then if you win, it just looks like you've beat a bust up Joe Joyce who'd already, the only thing he had was his chin. He dined out on his chin too much. He lost that against Zhang. And you've gone in there and almost just pushed the scraps into the bin. Like, yeah, you're done that. So either way, it doesn't look great, right? I'd leave the Joyce. Joyce said that he'd fight the winner of Dubois versus Parker because he beat both of them. I don't think either of them should do that. If they fight each other and then the winner fights Joyce off the back of the losses, I think it makes no sense. Maybe, right, the loser, say Parker loses to Dubois, and then he fights Joyce. The loser fights Joyce, not the winner. Not right now, because I don't think Joyce has kind of earned that. Yes, he beat them a while ago. Parker not too long ago, but still, I don't think he's there yet. So I'd leave Joyce for now. I just don't think he's ready to mix it up with the likes of an AJ and try and avenge that loss. 2% Joe Joyce too much. I don't think he's ready to go in there with. I'd stick with the Wilder. Fury, they're obviously tied up, right? But he didn't look like, even if they weren't, he was at the standard where he'd give them any trouble. So I'm kind of thinking for Dubois, I love the Parker fight. You've both lost to Joyce, so you're kind of at that level. Parker's just beaten Wilder, and Dubois off the back of Big Baby Miller. I'm looking at the Parker fight for Dubois and thinking it's a former heavyweight champion. It's a former heavyweight champion who looks like he's coming really into his best. So that mix-up for Dubois is that slight step up where you're thinking you've lost to the same guy, but you're a former heavyweight champion. but you just beat Wilder. But do you know what I mean? You look good doing it. If I can fight you and beat you, good for me. But I don't think the same can be said for Parker. So for Parker, I don't like the fight versus Dubois quite as much. You've just beaten Wilder. You're in there with the mix with some of these not title holders in Usyk and Fury, but the interims, the mandatories, your Hergovich and your Zhang. That's where you put yourself, not Dubois. I don't think, for me, I wouldn't fight Dubois if I'm Parker, unless it's big money unless you want to prove something. Because I do think I favour Dubois versus Parker. I think it'd be a great fight and a close fight. I'd love to see it. As a boxing fan, I'd love to see Dubois versus Parker. For Dubois, I'd love to see Dubois versus Parker. On Parker's corner, I'm not taking that fight. I do think Dubois gets the better of him. It'd be a good fight, but I just think he would. And it's almost a step sideways, if not down. It's not a step up. So I'm going for a Zhilei Zhang because he's WBA interim. And if you beat him, he's the guy that beat Joyce, right? You look at fighting either Usyk or Fury, both of which are either one's a southpaw and one's a switcher. So you got the experience of the southpaw, and you get that slot right. Or I'm going right. AJ's not fighting Hergovich. I'll fight Hergovich. That's what I'm doing. Because either you fight if they do bring the break. Because the reason why AJ's gone for Ngannou is money, but also they might not have they might just be fighting for a mandatory spot as opposed to a actual title. Because it might be not relinquished, if you know what I'm saying. So, or vacated rather. So I'm Parker. I'm going, well, I'll fight Hergovich because that means I either fight for the belt against Hergovich and become two-time champion, or I beat Hergovich, right? And then AJ's got to fight me for the belt. And I get the chance to avenge the AJ loss and become two-time champion. So if I'm Parker, that's the angle I'm taking. Me versus Hergovich. Because Hergovich beat Zhang, right? And let's be honest, Zhang was a good fighter. I think we've seen that since Joyce. Neither of them looked great. I think Zhang beat Hergovich. I think it was close, but he just beat. But it could have gone either way, right? And I'm watching that. I'm watching him versus Dempsey McKean where he didn't look too great. And then he's fight Demori, who's just blunt water, but so could have fucking Bob from the pub. So I'm looking at that thinking that's a winnable fight. And what do I get for that? Well, I get mandatory challenger and a chance to get the belt back versus an opponent who beat me in Joshua, or I get the belt in the fight versus Hergovich. I don't think it will be stripped. Having seen the IBF have come out and they've not put AJ number 2, even though he just beat Otto Wallin. They've just left the number 2 spot vacant. Now that, don't get me wrong, that means if they do strip the winner of Fury and Usyk, number 1, Hergovich, will just fight number 3, AJ, for the belt. Number 2 would just be obviously vacant. You'd still fight for the belt, right? They'd still order 1 versus 3. What it tells me is they're not in any rush to order that. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to strip them. They might strip them after the rematch. I think that could happen. And they have the first fight done. Depending on the outcome, we'll let the rematch take place, and then we'll strip you and put the belt on the line. I just don't think they're in any rush, given the fact they haven't put AJ to number 2. So if I'm Parker, I'm going right. I'll beat Hergovich. I'll take Hergovich, a very beatable man, especially in the confidence you must have after beating Wilder. Right, I'll take on Hergovich, nice and easy. Bang, beat him. I'm now mandatory. AJ, you got to come through me to get there. And if I'm AJ, I'm going all right. I'll take you on, mate. I've beaten you once. I'll do it again. And Parker's going, I'm way better now. I can beat you. I can avenge my loss, and I'm going to become two-time champion. So that's the angle. If I'm Parker, I'm going that way, Hergovich. And I believe Parker asked for that fight, either Zhang or Hergovich, because I think he wants the mandatory spot. I think Hergovich has come out and said, yeah, I'll do that. And do you know I'm taking that same for Hergovic because Hergovic needs to prove a point really. And I don't think you can go. I don't think you can go after a controversial loss to or a controversial win to Zhang, close stoppage to Dempsey McKean, and then a blowout versus Demore and some other guy to then fight AJ for the title. You're not going to be ready. So that's the angle I'm taking if I'm Parker Hergovic. I'm pushing for it and pushing for it. But you let me know your thoughts down below, people. I hope you like the video. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Take it easy, people. Peace.